No, there's no echo on my end, and your end is good. Oh my goodness, hallelujah. Here we
Don't
go.
touch anything.
We don't touch anything,
Right.
exactly. Okay, so great. It's a great test to, you know, finding that inner strong self that allows us to center when things go awry. So that's one of the best things about our yoga practice, right? Is that we can allow a pause to happen where we are influenced by the things that are around us, and we can come into what is the breath and the tool of the breath. And so I asked everyone to come to a seat, and what that meant to you is very different for each and every person. And you can be in a cross-legged seat, you could be in a chair. And all I'm asking is that the hand position is also optional. So you could have your hands resting on your lap. And can you see and hear me? Just a test.
Yes.
Yes. Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you. So we close our, thank you. I appreciate that, making sure. So closing your eyes gently. And feeling the length of your spine, no matter where you are, right? No matter what your seat looks like, no matter what positioning that you're in to create this seat, there is a foundation for your seat. And that foundation is where we grow from. So the stability that is underneath us allows our spine to grow with our breath in. We stabilize our core and stay with this present moment as we breathe out. So centering into that true deep down self, full breath in, and a calm, lengthened breath out. Do that one more time. Inhale, all positivity, light, and energy. Exhale anything that does not serve you. Just let it go by the wayside like a mist. Allowing some movement now, taking your hands, reach them up overhead. Maybe your gaze goes up as well as you bring your hands together and draw into your heart center and just land. The breath comes in, the spine grows long. Exhale, your hands will go out to your side, your fingertips spread wide. Inhale, halfway up. The palms are facing down to the ground. The shoulder blades pull together as you squeeze them and open your heart. Take the breath in, let the gaze go up. Draw down into your heart center and land. Let the breath expand. And as you exhale, hands down to sides, fingertips spread wide. Inhale, halfway lifting through the shoulders. Exhale, squeeze them together, the front body opens. Rise up to the sky all the way, gaze goes right there. And as you exhale, coming into tabletop pose. So I will go sideways here into tabletop pose. Tabletop is just exactly as it sounds, in all fours position, where you root down into the hands and into the knees and feel the structure of your body. So as you reach your right arm forward, your thumb will be facing towards the ceiling. Your left foot extends back behind you. You can either keep it or plugged into the ground. Either way, it doesn't matter. It's what you need today. It's that pause to kind of go inward and see with that curiosity and exploration what this is going to offer me. And as you take this breath in with the left foot either lifted or grounded, stretch through the fingertips and heel. And stay right here down to exhale. Take the lengthening breath and the wrapping of the core. Breathe out. It's one more reach, front to back. And as you exhale, the right hand comes down, the left knee goes down. Doing the opposite side now, taking the left arm forward and the right foot back, extend.
We lost your video.
You lost my video? Okay, can you hear me still?
Yes.
Can you can hear me? Okay. So Izzy has left the room.
We see you
and
now.
So
We're good.
You can see me?
We see you.
Okay, perfect. All right. I'm so sorry for these technical difficulties. They can see me, but I can't see the clock. It went blank. Okay, so the left arm is forward and the right foot is back. And again, the leg that's behind you is optional and what you need and what your body can maybe experiment with lifting or keeping it grounded. So the breath is our guide for the reach in and lengthening. And our breath out is that stabilization. It's just more as we get full reach back, let the left hand land and the right knee land. Coming into a cow pose is dropping the low belly and lifting the heart, keeping the tailbone high and the chin lifted. And exhale into cat pose. It's the opposition, the other side of the same coin as you draw that belly button towards the spine. Let's move back and forth with the breath. So inhale to a cow pose and exhale into cat pose, just like a Halloween cat would be on a fence. So in breath is extension of the spine. So trying to make it as big and wide open through the collarbones as you can, and exhale into that cat pose, pushing the ground away to hollow out the belly. Doing 2 more rounds. In breath, cow, and exhale, cat, like you're squeezing the air out like a sponge. This is the last full round. Notice the spine, the articulation of each vertebrae. And exhale into that cat, drawn up spine, letting the shoulder blades melt away from one another and coming back into this tabletop pose. Tuck your toes underneath you and take a really big breath in and push the ground away with the hands and lift the hips into downward facing dog. And then kind of pedal out your dog. So meaning like taking big motions into the legs. And again, I love to have exploratory motions and movements in our yoga practice. So the movements that I'm making do not need to be mimicked by you. I want you to feel as though you're in a morning stretch where you're not even thinking about the movements. They just happen organically. But here we are in our downward facing dog. And let the head hang between the shoulders. And there's definitely structure. There's a lot of activation in this pose. Lifting your right leg either back behind you or straight up towards the sky for a 3-legged dog. Step the right foot forward. And that might be one big step, or it might be a couple steps, or you might even take your right hand underneath your right knee and to move the right foot up. Once you've landed into this long, low lunge, dropping your left knee onto the ground. Maybe you take both hands on the top of your right knee as you push yourself up. So this is called crane pose. And crane pose accentuates the length of the left hip flexor. And so you might inch your right foot a little bit farther forward and allow your right knee to kind of slide forward to get more length through your left hip flexor. So we are very a forward-facing society where we are on our seat often with driving and working at computers and phones. And so we get this continuous flexing motion in our hips, meaning they're kind of like brought into us. And so what I'm offering here is a length through the left hip flexor, which is the opposite motion of our sitting practice, our sitting day-to-day life. And then pulling the hip back over the left knee so that you are stacked into a 90-degree angle with your shin bone and your thigh bone, and then take the hands to the sky. And so you might notice that there could be some instability. There might be a balance challenge with this. But if you move the right foot over and create a little bit wider base, you might find that your stability, your balance is a little bit easier to access. And again, if the hands above your head are too much in this instance, you can put them back down onto the knee. And so rotating the spine into a twist, we're going to go straight to sky first. and then into the twist where the left arm comes forward and the right arm goes back. And again, your balance might be challenged. And if you have something by you that you can place your hand on, whether it be a chair or a desk or a plant stand or something where you can get the rotation in your spine. And then take your right hand back behind you. It could be on your left leg or behind your low back, and draw the left hand up towards the ceiling as though you have a bow and arrow and you're trying to aim that arrow straight up towards the ceiling. And you can take a peek up and find that length, and you might even notice that the left knee is plugged into the ground, and so the left hand can find more lift. So that goes back to that foundation being secure for us to find length and reach and exploration above us. And take one more reach as you go up towards the ceiling and come back down with both hands, framing your right foot. Tuck under your left toes, and so the left knee can lift off the ground. It's called a low runner's lunge. And you might stay here, or you might explore a twist with the left hand staying down and the right arm floating towards the sky. The stronger that your left leg is in this case, and again, it could be down on the ground if that serves you better, is more stabilization for this twist into the spine and into the legs. And let that heart get wide open as you inhale. And then the right hand comes down, and so does the left knee. And then walk your hands back just slightly as you can get maybe a lengthening through the back of your right leg. This is called half Hanuman pose or half split pose. And your half split pose might look really different than mine. And again, if you have something on either side of you to help with balance, that's great. And pulling the toes in towards the shin lengthens the back of the leg. Yeah, and so just sit with this for a moment, because it is a huge, huge requirement of the calf muscle and the hamstring and the back of the knee. Oftentimes we're very, very tight there. And just let your breath be your guide always. Take a full breath in and a full breath out. And then walk your hands to frame your right foot. So you have that stabilization, and simply just pick up your left foot and have it meet your right foot at the top of your mat. And come to a halfway lift. So we'll stay in a halfway lift and draw the sit bones back behind us. Your chin is pulled back as your crown reaches way ahead of you. Feel as though your shoulder blades are pulling away from your ears and your ears away from your shoulder blades. And notice the length of your spine as you create that opposition, and then forward fold over your legs. Take the hands to the sky, full reaching in breath. Extended mountain, grabbing your left wrist, pour your body to the right. See if you can make the length of your left side body longer by making your right side body shorter. And then reach to the sky, maybe notice what's above you. Grab your left wrist, let your body melt to the left. Again, feel as though those rib cage on the right side is spreading apart as the left side body is cinching in. Take the hands all the way up. Let the breath build you to the fingertips. Fold over your legs, release the air. Flat your back as an in breath. Hands come down to your mat. Step back into your downward facing dog. Again, move and explore and twist. Maybe lift both heels real high, maybe sink them into the earth. Bending one knee really severely to stretch the length of the other back leg. Again, I'm not going to tell you which leg to move. I want you to have that exploration into your practice, because that's what yoga is, very individualistic. And then settle into this downward facing dog. And we'll do the other side, sending the left leg long behind you, stretch it long. And then the step forward can be what it can be, right? As it'll maybe one step, maybe several. Maybe the left arm helps that left foot comes forward, and drop your right knee. Untuck your right toes so your toenails are pushing down into the ground, and rise up, crane pose, big breath in. And then maybe hands come down back onto the left knee. And notice where the left knee is in relation to the middle toes. So not guiding the knee over towards the big toe or the baby toe, but it's really reaching right through the center. And again, the targeted muscle is the right hip flexor in this case. And so your body might give you a huge response of this is it, this is my edge, but that's what you need to honor. And the longer that you stay in an asana, in a pose, the breath might allow you to find more space, more depth, but maybe not. Maybe it's best for you to back off and adjust this pose in ways that work for you. And then draw the hips back so you have that 90-degree angle. Take up space right to left because we're going to the twist where hands go up, big full breath. And then open arm, the right arm comes forward and the left arm goes back. Maybe take a peek towards your left hand. And tuck the left hand either behind your low back or at the back of your right thigh as the right hand draws that arrow up towards the ceiling. And get that push down to get the lift up. It's that relationship, that marrying of both moves that make the yoga poses happen. You've got it. And then unwind and send both hands up towards the sky. Full breath comes in. And then bend hip. And my left hamstring is way, way different than my right. It likes to be shorter and more resilient, resistant to some stretching. So this is that half pose. And again, your hips might be way higher. It just is about our body structure, our range of motion, our past experience, all those things add up to what bodies are allowing us to do. And it's also about the way our bodies are put together, like which ways do the connect into the joints, how the muscles have mobility and enough water in our system. That's also huge. And then let the breath come in and nourish those places that might be a little sticky or grumpy or resistant. And breath out is always the best way to calm the nervous system. And then start to come forward with the hands, framing the left foot. Tuck under the right toes. Keep your right hand down, right knee lifts. So again, that's just an offering for you. If the right knee needs to stay down, it does. Right hand stays down, left hand floats to the sky. And see if you can find distance between the heel and the crown. And see if you can find distance from the right hand to the left fingertips. And take one more reaching in breath, and the left hand comes down to frame the left foot. And then let the right foot come all the way up. Maybe it's a step or two as you fold into your legs. And then flat your back. Let the breath build this pose. And empty your breath as you squeeze into your legs. Let the back of your legs get long. Let the hand go to the sky. Big breath way in, credit force to the right. Inhale, stretch. Let's get that side bend. Right wrist is grabbed, the left side body cinches in, right side body lengthens. Take your hands up in long, big fill, and hands come to prayer center. Take this moment to settle, to find that space, that pause. Your full attention is where your breath is. How it moves your body, even though you're not moving very much. You can feel the rib cage expand and contract. Take a full breath in right here. This is familiar to you. Hands down by sides, exhale, fingertips spread wide. Inhale is halfway with the arms. Squeeze the shoulder blades together, open the heart. Take the hands for the full reach all the way to the sky. Draw them right through your heart center as you fold over your body. Flat your back and let the breath come in. and bow as it leaves. Take the hands all the way to the sky, stretch them. And as you come to heart center, we'll work on some balance here. One of my very favorite things to teach is to stand on one leg to your capacity. So with the left leg rooted down into the ground, the right foot is going to come on the inner left leg. And this is the first progression to a tree pose. So maybe the right toes are landed onto the ground into like a kickstand position, which gives you a lot of stability and a lot of opportunity to go inward. If you'd like to challenge your balance today, you can take the right foot on the inner left ankle or calf. And opening the hip outward draws the knee away, but it draws the left hip in. So the structure of your tree, the trunk of your tree is so lengthened because the root of the left foot has roots in it, right? Like a tree. There you go. And if you'd like to progress even farther in your tree pose, the left foot might come onto the the right foot into the inner left thigh. My tights are a little slippery, so my foot won't stay there. Yeah. But anyway, whatever it does, it's a very meditative pose. Once you kind of arrived in it, and it is this exploration point where you notice that the wobbling of the standing leg is teaching your brain how to stand on one leg. I often tell my students to practice their balance, brushing their teeth in the morning on one leg, chopping vegetables on one leg. And I know that I've had you here for some time, but we're trying to nourish and reawaken those balance muscles that are underneath the big ones. Take one more breath here and drop your right foot down onto the ground and feel the right foot land and anchor as the left foot draws up. And again, there's lots of options. There's lots of ways to express a tree pose. There we go. That side of my tights isn't quite as slippery. And if you are rocking your tree pose today, if it just feels so secure that you might grow your branches, your arms might get really expressive, just like the branches on a tree. And they might even blow in the wind back and forth. So just see where that edge is, see where that tipping point might be. You might even take your hands at your low back and crisscross your arms back behind you. And we're gonna stay here for 2 more rounds of breath. Let the inhale grow your tree tall, and exhale. And it's 1 more breath. And your left foot meets the mat. Unwind the arms if they were locked up and take them all the way to the sky. And forward fold over your legs. Come to a halfway lift, pull the shoulder blades away, and exhale is bowing. Root both feet into the ground so you can stand even taller. Long breath comes in. And I want you to wing your arms back. So as if you have wings back behind you. The shoulders will pull away from the ears. The palms are facing down towards the ground. This is called chair pose with wings. And so keeping the heart lifted high and the tailbone long towards the ground creates a really great structure if you draw the belly in. And so chair pose, the depth of it, again, it can just be what your practice needs today. You can play with lower hips or higher hips. With the hands back behind you, rooting into the right foot, I want you to lift the left foot just like we did in tree pose. And maybe the left foot reaches back behind you as you tip your torso, your heart forward, called airplane pose. An airplane pose, yes, you can drop the left foot and do some taps there and just make sure that the ground is there and the balance is there. And also, if you have something in front of you, like this chair that I have, you might want to see what airplane pose feels like with a little bit of help with a stable object. So from your airplane pose, breathe it in for buoyancy and breathe it out for stability. And it's 1 more in breath The left foot meets the ground as you fold in half. So whatever happened on that side gets rinsed clean, right? Like taking an eraser to a board. Exhale into chair pose with wings. So if there might be, balance can often create some frustration. And so maybe coming at it from a place of compassion, a place of newness. Slowly lift your right foot off the ground. Slowly send the right foot back, airplane pose. Taking what you need from this pose. Taking the hold onto the stable object around you, maybe allowing the right foot to land. But really what I aim for all of you is to have those stabilizer muscles. They're very fine muscles that we lose sight of as the bigger muscles take over. Take one more breath right here. And right foot meets the ground as you rinse that experience all clean with a forward fold. Flat your back as you inhale. And come onto the ground again. Hands down, feet go back. This is a high plank pose. My knees are lifted currently. Maybe the knees will drop. Maybe you go back and forth with the lifted knees to the knees landing onto the ground. So taking the core as our major consideration, that is the stable part of our body that helps any low back pain from developing. Slowly drop your knees onto the ground. Untuck your toes, stretch them long. Pull your elbows back into your ribs as you melt your body all the way down to the ground. The hands are back by the rib cage, by the armpits. The forehead landed on the mat. See if you can create as much muscle activation as you can for this baby back bend. You lift up halfway for Cobra pose. And we can stay in Cobra for a moment. And notice the tops of the toes pushing into the ground. The knees might actually lift in that case. And so again, we're working into the backside body. It's called our posterior chain. And what that does is it allows for better posture, which in turn allows for better breathing, which in turn allows for a better mood and disposition and ableness to respond instead of react. Great job holding this pose. Take a breath in and release your forehead down. Maybe bring your heels up towards your glutes and do this right to left like a windshield wiper. That allows the low back to get some decompression if there was any buildup there for you. I know it is for me. And stretch the toes long again and push the ground away to lift up for a Cobra and release down. Do one more long lengthening muscle activated lift and release. This is a bigger back bend. Push the ground away, straighten the elbows. The knees could be on the ground or they could be lifted. It's called upward facing dog. If the knees are down, use that ground to push away and lift the heart. And then separate your knees wide on your mat. Take up lots of space. Bring the feet together behind you. Sink the hips back into child's pose. Yes, the most restorative pose. It's also considered an inversion. So the meaning that the heart is above the head. It's a very mild inversion, but an inversion nonetheless. And so with the left hand still reaching out, long out in front of you, your right hand underneath your left armpit. So it's called thread the needle. And you might take some time and see if putting some weight into your right shoulder opens up the outside of your right shoulder. Stretching the left fingertips really long out in front of you. And the hips are heavy and pushing back. But where they land in your space is individualistic to your body. Staying right here, just draw the left hand underneath your left shoulder. push the ground away, rise up onto your knees and take your right hand high into the air for a thread the needle, reaching up, and now we'll come back down and thread the needle. It's the right hand behind the left. Let your right temple and cheek land on your mat and go back and forth. There's an in-breath reach and an exhale dive. So a vinyasa practice, lifting, rising, full breath in, and an emptying, full breath out, is a one breath, one movement practice, which we're doing right here. Take the right hand high into the air, long breath in. The right hand comes down, the hips go back, child's pose. Yes, and you can use all 10 finger pads to sit the hips deep down. It's a surrender pose. It's an opportunity to not let things creep in. And one of the best ways to find a meditation practice in your yoga practice is to think of the body cues that I'm giving you, the breath cues. Slide your left hand through that opening underneath your right armpit and land in your opening of your left shoulder, the thread the needle portion of this. And what's really interesting to me is finding the difference between the right and left sides. And your right hand comes back underneath your right shoulder to support you so that you can lift up and rise the left hand up towards the ceiling. And then guide it through that opening as you breathe out. And we'll do 3 more. So in breath, be in your own personal practice. And out breath, be in your own personal time and space and experience. Last lift up with the left hand to the sky and the left hand coming down underneath your left shoulder. Find your tabletop structure. So moving the knees right underneath those hips, and let the breath come in as you feel that ground underneath you, and the breath go all the way out. Let's go back to the right leg lifted, pushing back long behind you like we did in the very beginning. Except we're not going to reach forward with the hand, but we're going to swing the right foot way over towards the left. It'll land on the ground away from your mat. You could be on the tops of your toes or on the ball of your feet and take a peek over your left shoulder. So it's targeting more into the hip rim in this side body bend. And then swing your right foot around like you're making a half circle drawing on the right toes, and the right foot will land in line with your right hip. Sink your left hip back, both hips will go back, but the left hip lands on the left heel. An inner thigh lengthening stretch. And if you'd like to, do a little bit of a wave right to left with the toes. You can see if different muscles are being stretched and lengthened. And then pull the hands back underneath your shoulders. Keep your right foot way out just like it is. Stand on your left knee. Let your arms express all the way to the sky. And then your right hand slides down your right leg. Your left arm reaches over towards your right toes. In a big C-shaped spine. And feel, this is called gate pose. See how tall you can make your hands. Breathe in. Slowly use your core to let your hands land on your mat. Tuck your right knee back underneath you into your tabletop expression. And send your left leg long behind you. And then swing it way over towards the right. The right shoulder is where we look over. And see if you can push the ground away with your left hand a little bit more firmly. And feel your body just kind of get that lengthening. And it's kind of a contortion in a way, right? It's not a pose or natural movement that we go into on a regular basis. And then draw that half circle with the left toes so that the left foot lands right in line with the left hip. and sink back both hips, push the ground away. See if the toes reaching towards the ceiling or pulling back towards the shin creates more length through the long left leg. And it's that exploratory like conversation you're having with your body. What is it doing? What am I feeling? Why am I feeling? There's certainly all those body things that come up, right? But then there's the emotional things. Standing on your right knee, send the hands to the sky. And your left hand goes down your left leg as your right arm reaches up and over your right ear. So yeah, there's always deep down emotional stuff that might come up in a yoga practice. Because when we move our bodies in ways that maybe we're not quite used to, things can kind of change and be brought up. And we're kind of shaking up the snow globe in a way. And so some of those past experiences or natural, go-to emotions that are used to can sometimes change. Take the both hands up towards the sky, and then both hands come down into that tabletop pose by tucking the left knee right underneath you. And then picking up the right knee outward. So keeping the foot flexed and the leg bent. I want you to make some circles into your right hip. So our hip is the biggest joint in our body and can cause a lot of problems if we don't take care of it. Reverse that circle going in the other direction. And see if there was a magic marker on your knee, could you make that circle that you're drawing bigger each time? Find your range of motion and be curious about it. Land the right knee back onto your mat. Your left leg will go out to the side. They call it, I think, fire hydrant pose in aerobics classes. And you can figure out why. And then open up the hip in every direction by making circles. Yes, our hip joint is a ball and socket joint. As if you put a baseball into a baseball glove, reverse those circles. And so it fits in there usually pretty nicely. And there's a really cool thing called synovial fluid that is like the oil can. Drop the left knee down onto the ground into your tabletop pose. Send your feet out to the side and sit down onto your mat. And let's come into a cross-legged seat. I'll face you. Hands coming onto knees. Tall spine. Long breath. Let's come back to our arm vinyasa. Hands come into center. Take a breath in. Hands go out to sides. Breath out. Hands come up halfway. Cinch the shoulder blades together, so shoulder blades squeeze and heart opens. Take your hands up along with your gaze. Big breath in. Exhale, hands to prayer. Take your hands on top of your knees, and let's get into the neck a little bit here. So drawing your right ear towards your right shoulder, make your left shoulder longer. So we have so much tension created into the neck muscles. And so you might notice this really kind of sticky, grumpy little part on the left side of your neck. But see if you can breathe the air to those spots and then right the head back to center so that the chin is level. And let's take the chin down to the collarbone and see if your shoulder blades can ride a little bit closer towards your back pockets. And so that you can get this lengthening downward as you let the head, the weight of the head, the gravity work in your favor to take the head closer down towards the earth and let the shoulders just release its tension. And then right the head back up so that the chin is level to the ground, and take your left ear to your left shoulder. And making the right shoulder lengthen lets both oppositions, like you're stretching out a rubber band, help in the process that we're going through here. It might seem like such a minor, simple, small movement, but it has very large impact. And then draw the head so that it is righted here. And then take a peek up. Yes, we're not trying to create tension in the back of the neck. We're trying to create length in the front. So guiding the chin up towards the ceiling. And now we're just going to make a circle here. So right ear, right shoulder, chin to chest, left ear, left shoulder, gaze to the ceiling. One more full circle being made here. And once you peek at the top, let's go in the other direction. You might notice that there's some cracking or some resistance, but I want you to just be in that seat of awareness. That's what it's all about. There we go. We're back to center with a cervical spine just as long as the low spine. Let's find a twist here. Take the hands to the sky first, lengthen. Left hand, right knee, right hand behind you like a kickstand. The important part of any twist is lengthening through the spine first and then rotating around that lengthened spine as if it's a flagpole and you're letting your flag kind of just turn back behind you. And allow for a little bit of surrender. If we grip so tight to something, it often doesn't allow for that full creative expression. And then bring the hands back up to center. It's a long reaching in breath here. And find your twist on the other side. Right hand, left knee, left hand long behind you. Integrity, as though you have a string of pearls. That's the vertebrae. Spin down, and then that string of pearls gets to rotate over, drawing the left shoulder away, maybe using the grip of the right knee to find a little extra room. That's all we're looking for, is to put our bodies into a position that they might not normally be in. And let's come back to center with that long reaching in. And then our feet, so that the soles of the feet, the bottoms of the feet, come together. It's called Baddha Konasana in yoga. And if you're in a chair, you could just take the knees wide. I haven't really mentioned a lot of chair options today, and I feel sorry for that. But anyway, I think that most of our practice could be modified for being the toes here as you lengthen your spine, and then melting over of your legs. You're mirroring your elbows with your knees. So making like a butterfly shape as you round your shoulders out towards your armpits, and see if the hollowing out of your belly, just like in our cat pose in the beginning, creates this rounded dome-like shape of your side. It stretches the low back, the upper back, the mid back. And then sitting up nice and tall. Behind tips are facing the front of your mat. Your feet will land onto your mat right here and push into the ground to lift the hips. Maybe they come up just a couple inches, maybe a little bit higher as you open your chin towards the ceiling. Either way, it's using the body structure of the arms and the feet. It's called reverse table pose, so it makes a lot of sense. It is just the opposite of the table that we were in before. Take a breath in, and then release the hips down onto the ground. Bring the soles of the feet back together, hands wrapped around toes, lengthen through the spine, and forward fold. Vinyasa, breath with movement. Inhale. Hands behind, feet plant. Breathe in, lift up to your capacity, and exhale the hips all the way down. I'm going to shift so that you can see me. We are going to grab the backs of our knee creases and allow your body to melt down into the ground. Pull the knees into the front body and maybe give yourself a big hug. Maybe offering this tiny little ball and getting a place that's so secure and tight and really much a home-based landing point that you can give yourself a affirmation, something nice that you do, are, am, and maybe grabbing the outsides of the feet and sending the soles of the feet to the sky for a happy baby pose. And if the outsides of the feet aren't accessible, not all arms and legs can match this. So grab around ankles if you would like, or back behind the knee creases. And the knees go wide, and the arms are pulling the knees down towards the earth as we open up the backs of our hips. And you might notice this rock right to left is a very natural thing to happen. It is a happy baby pose, and most happy babies will rock side to side. There you go. And then drawing your right knee in towards your right armpit and sending your left leg long and letting the left heel land on the earth so that when you draw your right knee across your body, you can twist and the right arm extends long out in front of you and you let your belly go. If we grip too tight into the belly, that restriction doesn't allow for the rotation in the spine. And just take a moment to see and feel and be. Appreciate. And coming back up to center, simply switching sides, sending the left leg into the left armpit, excuse me, and the right leg long. The right heel will land onto the ground as you draw your left thigh bone across your belly and let your legs go one way and your gaze and your left arm stretch out in the opposite way. Very therapeutic pose. It doesn't only get the muscles and the bones, but this is also really great for digestion and any sort of issues that might be in the gut. So many beneficial points to our yoga practice. And then come back up to center, planting the soles of the feet down on the ground, both heels rooted down up by your sit bones, hands down into the ground, neutralize that twisted spine by a bridge. And so bridge pose is just lifting up through the hips, sending energy out through the kneecaps. We're trying to make our spine long, not curved. So really, really using that posterior chain that we worked on today. So everything that's behind you, so glutes and hamstrings, heels and calves, and even into your triceps, pushing down into the ground to feel that push, to find the lift. And slowly let the hips land onto the ground. And if you are in a chair, you can just cross your right ankle onto your left. Or if you're on the ground, we can do that as well. And so this is called a figure four. And looking very much like the number 4, it's a beautiful hip opener. As you send the right knee long away from you, maybe your right arm guides it away from you. And I'm going to offer a few other progressions of this pose because each of our bodies is different. So picking up the left thigh and pulling it towards you by gripping the back of the left thigh creates a bigger, smaller angle, but a bigger stretch. And the left foot can rise up towards the ceiling as well. And that gets the back of the left leg. And pulling the left knee towards you and letting the left hand on the ground to unwind the right foot down onto the mat. And the left ankle crosses on top of the right. And you might notice that difference, that right to left difference. It's really about how our pelvis is put together. And draw that right foot maybe up towards the ceiling, interlacing the hands behind the right thigh. You could bend the right knee as well. And if you want more of a progression, interlacing the hands around to the front of the right shin or the front knee. And again, landing in the moment of it. See what is happening internally, both emotionally and physically. So I talked about the hip being the largest joint in the body, and therefore it carries the most emotion. Yes, our cells from when we were little children are still there, carrying a lot of the stuff that was brought to us through our experiences. And so we're just tapping into shaking up the snow globe. And when all those little pieces, parts settle back down, we're going to make a new configuration. You've done a beautiful, amazing job today. So let the right foot land, let the left foot unwind. Stretch your body long, like that big morning stretch with your hands reaching overhead and the legs reaching away from there. Just noticing the beautifulness of your body, the ability of your body, the way that you honored it today. And as you land, maybe taking one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly, just an offering, not a have to see for these last few moments that we have together. Have it be about that very focused concentration. Meditation is also often thought of as an absence of thought, but it is a pinpointed laser focus on one thought. And the other thoughts do drift away, but if you just not concentrate, the thoughts that we don't want to come in end up coming there. So maybe you think of a word, an affirmation, or just notice your breath. Use all 5 of your senses to take in this moment. See if you can feel the ground underneath you or the chair underneath you. The heavier parts of your body connected to that surface. There's distant noises, I'm sure, beyond my voice that you can hear and be a part of. There might be something that you see behind your closed eyes. Maybe a certain color or geometric shapes or just darkness. There's a specific fragrance in every room. Notice that. There could be a particular taste in your mouth today. Draw in all 5 sensations to land here, deep in this moment. And guide the breath to a bigger breath, a longer, more meaningful, purposeful breath. And make sure that you match your exhale with your inhale. Drawn out, squeeze out, let go. And then start to move your fingers and toes in slight little movements, working into larger muscles and joints, maybe rocking your head from right to left. And positioning yourself in a transition to a seat, whether that be into a fetal position onto either side, and just letting that moment, let your practice be solidified, and working your way into a seat. Any way that serves you, just the way we started our practice today, right? Your seat is your seat. Your body is your body. Your mind is your mind. Bring your hands into the heart center with that compassion for your uniqueness. And draw that compassion and light and energy to the third eye center. Know that your light emanates to me through this screen. I can feel you, and I appreciate you. The word namaste means the light in me sees and honors the light in you. Namaste.
Stay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. Sorry for all the craziness in the beginning and
It's okay.
being
I'm
able
glad
to
we were able
readdress
to get it together.
Yes.
Yes. So
Thank
it was
you
really
all
nice
so
meeting you,
much.
Marla.
Thank you. And thank you,
Thank you.
Barb and Sally, for you guys gave me a little bit of a heart attack watching though. I'm like, oh, but you did great. So.
Thank you all
I
so much.
appreciate
Great
it.
job, Kim.
All right.
If anyone has
Thank you,
any
Kim.
questions, they
Okay.
can email us at info@hywestlake.com, and we'll see you guys next month.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Anybody
you.
have any?
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
You too.
Did you-
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Okay.
If any, I was going to say if anyone has questions, but that's okay.